Hello to all of you out there in this great big world of social media. This is your brother Dana coming to you from the city of Chicago. Hey, shalom, shalom to all of the precious chosen people of the Most High Yah who are out there and know who you are. And to those, my black brothers and sisters, that have not yet embraced that truth or know that truth, I cannot wait until you do. So, shalom, shalom. As you know, I've been doing, and I'm going to do, I think, a total of 4 different videos coming to or aimed at my white evangelical family members from Isaiah chapter 9 and chapter 10. And I've entitled them, If God Judged His Own Children. And there's a misconception or a deliberate lie that has been taught in Christianity that we are not going to receive consequences for our behavior, and that God is going to, through Jesus Christ, just rapture us in just the last moment, so that we do not have to reap what we've sown. Well, those of us that are now in the truth know that that is nothing but a lie. But that America, even now as we speak, is undergoing the beginning stages of God's judgment. And why? Because if God will judge his own natural children, how do we as the unnatural children or as strangers think that God is going to overlook our sins, especially the sins when it comes to slavery, and it comes to of killing and destroying God's chosen people. In Romans 11, it says, do not be arrogant. Now, this is Paul speaking to the Gentiles, Paul speaking to the non-chosen people. So that would be us. Do not be arrogant, but tremble. One says, do not be overconfident, but have some fear. For if God did not spare the natural branches from judgment or punishment or discipline, he will not spare you either. That's straight from the mouth and the writing of Paul. So yesterday I talked about pride. That we, and as white evangelicals and white Americans and white supremacy, have a massive pride and arrogant issue. And it's manifesting itself right now very obviously through the life of Donald Trump, your elected king. Today, starting at verse 13, it says judgment was against Israel's hypocrisy. And that again is something that we here in the United States, and especially as evangelicals, fall guilty of in many ways, but especially even just in this way. And I want you to think about that. This here. We judge ISIS for the murderings that they do of Christians and people. And because of our dislike for Muslims and what they do through ISIS, we have judged all Muslims. And President Trump right now is making it very clear as he bans and limits Muslim countries from coming into here, thinking it's the Muslims that are going to destroy us. Because look at ISIS. And so when a Muslim woman is wearing a hijab, right away, white people judge, evangelicals judge, we get fearful, and we want them out. But isn't that crazy? Because let's go on the other side and let's look at the KKK, which is a Christian ISIS. The KKK has killed and destroyed and murdered millions of black individuals' lives throughout all the years it's been in existence. And it's still doing it today because a white man and his son can travel in a pickup, and because they decide a black man is a criminal, they can lynch him, they can shoot him in cold-blooded murder, and white evangelicalism does nothing except for what Trump speaks. There's more to the story, I bet. And yet our nuns can walk around with their garb that covers their hair and covers their face almost, and we say nothing. It's called hypocrisy. And God brought judgment because of his own children's hypocrisy that is found in Isaiah chapter 13 to 17. And it says this, but the people did not return to him who struck them. So already God began to strike them because of their pride, but yet they did not turn to him. Already this pandemic of COVID-19 is showing you as white American, white evangelicals that you cannot control it. In fact, you know what gets me? Today there are churches that are hiring lawyers to sue the government, especially here. There's some here in Chicago and there's out in California. You're suing the government because the government is restricting you from having your church service. I know that the motivation is that you need that money for you to live as the pastor. Because you know why I know? When I look at these Facebook lives, there are churches that I know have 10, 15,000 members, but yet when I watch on live, 250 viewers, 400 viewers, 999 viewers. I'm like, really? That shows something. So anyways, now you're suing because you cannot gather, because you believe that God has told you to gather. Fine, do it. But I guarantee you, when somebody gets sick, you won't tell those sick members to gather into your church for healing. You'll send them to a hospital where people who comply have to deal with your sick member. That's hypocrisy. You say that they will know that you are Christians by your love. But yet out of your selfishness, you're going to gather. And when you get sick, you're not going to call your sick members to come into the church so you can lay hands on them and pray for them and hope that they live, since God told you to gather. You're going to send your members out to the hospitals and ask people to take care of them. That's a side note, but it's truth. So the people did not return to him who struck them. They did not seek the Lord of hosts. So the Lord will cut off Israel's head and tail, both palm branch and reed, in a single day. The head is the elder and honorable man, and the tail is the prophet who teaches lies. Yesterday I shared about that. The head should be an honorable man. President Trump, an honorable man. Paula White, a prophetess of lies. For those who guide this people mislead them, and those they mislead are swallowed up. You know, Trump has said that he's taken this drug that has kept him from getting the COVID-19, and so many people are concerned that his followers are going to drink this Kool-Aid. At some point, when do you say, let those who want to be led by this man and his prophetess of lies, let them? Because at one point, do we give people over to make their own decision? Even the Bible says, for those who guide this people mislead them, and those they mislead are swallowed up. God did not intervene to save his own children's fate. And yet, white evangelicals believe you are so supreme that God is not going to allow you to be misled when you serve the God of white supremacy through the religion you created of Christianity, based out of Catholicism. Therefore the Lord will take no pleasure in their young men. He has no compassion on their fatherless and widows, for every one of them is godless and wicked, and every mouth speaks folly. Even despite all this, his anger is not turned away. His hand is still upraised. So if God himself did not hold back his judgment and punishment or discipline or hand of justice on his own children, what arrogance we think, because of our pride yesterday, he will not send that upon white evangelical Christians. And then what type of hypocrisy? because we believe God is going to destroy those evil Muslims while he overlooks our KKK shootings and killings, not only of our black brothers and sisters, but who are really the true chosen people of the Most High God, the true Jews, the true Hebrews. And we in the United States have pledged to defend the true children of God. However, we're defending the synagogue of Satan, the Ashkenazi Jews, fake Jews, white Jews. That doesn't make God say, whoop, I guess they didn't know who they were really abusing and killing. I'll hold back my judgment. No. Because the revelation is out. I'm speaking that revelation. And the majority of you are rejecting it as my white family members. So I'm going to read this before I close out. It says, we have a defense of the divine judgment taken from the universal corruption of the people, wherein God sets forth the justice of his proceedings and shows that not from choice, but from the iniquities of the people, he is compelled to punish the leaders of this people, their governors, both civil, especially the latter, their teachers and false prophets, cause them err. Their governors compelling them by power, and their teachers deceiving them by false doctrines and evil counsels and persuasions. They that are led are destroyed, shall certainly perish, nor will it avail them to plead in their excuse that they followed the counsel and conduct of their leaders. No excuse, white evangelicals, no excuse. You are held responsible for you. You have no excuse to say, but God, I thought Trump. But God, I thought. Therefore the Lord will have no more joy in your young men, shall not rejoice over them to do them good, as he doth over his faithful people. Neither shall he have mercy on the fatherless, who generally are the special objects of his care and his pity. Remember, white evangelicals in this country, as you walked past a homeless man who was black, and you made judgments on him because he held... See, I don't judge a black man or any man or woman that's homeless with a bottle of beer. Because you know what? Even in all the goodness that the Most High Yah has given to me, I still fight different things that are not good. I can't imagine if I did not have the Most High Yah God in my life. Where would I be today? Where would my mind be? Would I be out on the street? Would I be a drug addict? Would I be an alcoholic? I know that when Yeshua HaMashiach fed the multitudes of people, I guarantee you not every single one of them took that food and turned back to him and lived their life the right way, but yet he fed them. I had a homeless man approach me a few weeks ago in Target. And he asked if I would buy him a sweater or a sweatshirt, because it was still cold here. And right away, my Christian upbringing, why are you homeless? What did you do? Is that alcohol I smell? I bet you're doing drugs. And I said, young man, yes. And I don't say this for anybody to pat me on the back, but I say this because it is my desire to live what I ask others to do. And so I stood in line with him, even though it was the COVID-19. I saw that he had no food, so I asked him to grab a 6-pack of Gatorade and to maybe, go back and grab some other non-perishable food items that he could put in his backpack that he had on his back, which was all he owned. And at the end, the young man, he said, I wish I could really give you a hug, because he said, you just being nice to me did something to my heart. And I said, hey, I'm not afraid. That is the heart of Yeshua HaMashiach. I don't need to go to a church to keep doing those things. I don't need to gather with an assembly of great people to do those things. But every single day, I talk to my sister Arlene, my brother Jimmy, my brother Jamil, who's been doing our Shabbat services. And when they see me or hear something that's not quite right, they'll call me up and say, hey, brother. Because, see, we got all of each other's backs. And it is our sole desire to inspire each other to love and good deeds. And that is exactly what One Love will always be about. Love and good deeds. And if I get judged for loving too much, then so be it. But I know in the lives of the young men that I have worked with, I didn't need to go out on the street and tell them to stop selling drugs as I did with Q-Tip, as I shared a couple of days ago. He already knows it wasn't something he should be doing. But I needed to rearrange the way that I talk, that I would use my tongue to speak life. Because I know that many times when we find ourselves in a sin or making choices that are not the best, it's not simply out of rebellion, but it may be for many of us out of hurt, out of depression, out of misguidance, out of fear, out of low value of ourself. And so when I see the spirit that comes from even these people that want to have church, it don't come out of a spirit of love. It comes out of a spirit of command and demand. Exactly opposite what I saw in the life of Yeshua HaMashiach. And yet we claim to be a nation of Christians that proclaim the good news. And in these few short months of being smacked just a little bit by this COVID-19, I don't see too many of these great churches inspiring Americans on towards love and good deeds because of what you're seeing doing out amongst your sheep. Your excuse is we're on lockdown, when it means going out to your sheep. But to bring your sheep to you, to pay your tithes and offerings, and to give you what you want, and to rebel against this system, you'll do it safely. Hypocrisy. White evangelical Christianity has lived the life of a hypocrisy when it comes to this. We ask people to do what we say, not as we do.